Hi there, I'm the underscore twig, and I like analysing game rules. There's a new Unearthed Arcana about horror-themed subclasses, and I figured, why not make a quick, mostly unscripted video going over my thoughts. I do need to give a short disclaimer first though. I am incredibly picky about horror. There are certain themes that I absolutely despise, and one of the subclasses in this UA really hits it hard. I've tried to remain as objective as possible, but there are certain things in this UA that I hate for completely non-mechanical reasons. Hate is of course a very strong word, but it is not quite as strong as these guys who support me on Patreon. They pump iron in my Discord, where they also get early access to my videos, and we talk through things like this UA. SK, Mark Rainbow, Biney and Jaleli also recently started a professional arm wrestling league, which meets every Tuesday at the Greater Stake in Marrakesh. Right, so here we are in the PDF. I'm going to do this a little bit out of order, simply because I don't want to start with the Artificer first. So instead, I'm going to do the Phantom Rogue first. This has been one of my favourite subclasses for Rogue ever since it came out in Tasha's. And they've realistically only just given this a few quality of life upgrades, which I think is perfectly alright. This didn't need all that much, I don't think. Level 3 Wells of the Grave just has the first quality of life upgrade, which is that it is now based on your dexterity modifier rather than your proficiency bonus. Which means that realistically, up until like level 13 probably, you just get one extra use per day. Which, yeah, that is good. I do kind of think that this should have some kind of specificity as to how it interacts with Cunning Strike. For example, if I was a 7th level rogue, I would have 4d6 of sneak attack. If I then spend one of those d6s to use trip, for example, do I still get my 2d6 of Wells from the Grave, or does it go down to 1d6? Or could I give up a Wales die to use trip? Or could I do trip on the first target and also trip on Wales' second target? Or what? I don't know. Well, I'm pretty sure I know, actually. I'm pretty sure that it just says you use your sneak attack like normal. If you use Cunning Strike, then you use that as normal. And then you do 2d6 to the other target. Just whatever. Cannot interact with Cunning Strike at all. But I think it's probably worth clarifying how this works with Cunning Strike. Dunno. Whispers of the Dread is the other feature that you get at 3rd level, and I think that this one is actually really good. It appears to just be a ribbon, but the fact that you get a tool proficiency works really, really nicely with the new crafting rules. Because you can essentially, whenever you have downtime, just pick whatever tool you need to craft whatever magic item you need, which gives you a lot of flexibility. I like this one a lot. We then have Tokens of the Departed at level 9, and there's 2 changes to this one. First off, what this lets you do is you get a load of sort of little token things that you can spend on extra uses of Wells from the Grave, or you can get advantage on death saves, or the first upgrade that they gave it, you can cast Augury with them. This Spirit Query option used to just let you ask whatever spirit you had captured a question which it didn't have to answer truthfully, and essentially that meant that you were just asking some guy that you just murdered to help you, which they had no incentive to do, and it meant that it really wasn't very good. As such, Augury, much better. The other change that they've given to this is that you now get 2 for free every long rest, which at worst means that you now get 2 extra uses from Wells for the Grave. Good feature. Nice upgrade. I like it. Also at level 9 you now get Voice of Death, and this is lovely. Speak with Dead once per short rest. Brilliant. Speak with Dead is a fantastic spell. Always nice to have on a party. Then at level 13 we have Ghost Walk. This one has been fairly rightfully nerfed. The incorporeal movement is the nerf to this. This used to let you just sort of, every single turn you would just step down into the ground where you have full cover from everything, you cannot be targeted, and all you would do is just take 1d10 of force damage every turn. That was not good for the game, so I am glad that they have removed that, even if it was a very, very powerful feature. As it is now, the fly speed is so low that it's probably not especially useful, except for maybe some out-of-combat use, which, I mean, this is a good out-of-combat use. The main thing here is that Hazy Form just gives you essentially a really, really cheap version of the Blur spell, which, sure, I will take that. Then, finally, our capstone is Death's Friend. It lets you do more with your Wells from the Grave, and it lets you do Wells from the Grave more often. Great, yeah. Fantastic capstone. Lets you do more, and lets you do more of it. Overall, I really, really like the new Phantom. It's just got some good quality of life features, and as I say, I think that's all it needed. Okay, next up we'll do the Shadow Sorcerer. This one, one of the only characters that I have ever played in an actual campaign was a Shadow Sorcerer. And it wasn't an especially good subclass, I don't think. I mean, you had the Hands of Ill Omen thing, which was nice, but I feel like that's really just sort of all you really got until very high level. This new version, the Eyes of the Dark now gives you Blind Sight for 10 feet. Nice, Blind Sight is always a useful thing to have. You also now get a spell list, and there's a few good ones on here. I am very much a fan of Bane. I know that not everyone is, but I really like Bane. You also get Pass Without Trace, great spell. Summon Undead, great spell. Greater Invisibility, alright spell. And Creation, lots of really good out-of-combat uses for that. At level 6 we now get Spirits of Ill Omen instead of the old Hand of Ill Omen, and I think it's probably better. The old Hound gave you a fairly weak summon, but it did give the target disadvantage on saving throws. That is no longer as necessary with the upgrade to heightened meta magic, so I think that this is probably a good replacement. What it does is it lets you cast Summon Undead once per day without concentration. That is very useful. I like it. It means that you can have 2 of these up at once if you want. Yeah, good feature. I especially like using this with the Putrid form, because you get 2 chances to trigger the poison, which gives you additional chances to trigger the paralysis, which, yeah, it stacks really nicely. Level 14 we get Shadow Walk, which is unlimited use teleport. Brilliant feature. Finally, our capstone at level 18, Umbral Form. This one, much like Ghost Walk, has had the incorporeal movement nerfed, so you can no longer hide in the ground. Again, this was a necessary nerf. It's still really good though. Shadow Resilience, giving you resistance to everything except for Force and Radiant, is just brilliant. I will say that this does clash with one of the epic boons. I think it's the epic boon of the Night Spirit, which gives you basically all of these resistances as well. Night Spirit would be a really good thematic epic boon for a Shadow Sorcerer. So it's kind of annoying that it makes it redundant, but oh well, this is still a brilliant feature. Okay, next up would be the Hexblade Patron, but I want to look at the Ranger first, so let's go back to this. The Hollow Warden Ranger. This is realistically the main reason why I wanted to make this video. There's a lot of very powerful looking things in here. Starting right off with the spell list. Wrathful Smite, great spell. Spike Growth, great spell. It saves a prep. Phantom Steed, great spell. Hallucinatory Terrain, meh. And then Awaken, pretty good spell. This is a good spell list. Then we have Wrath of the Wild, also at 3rd level. Whenever you cast Hunter's Mark, you get Wizmod 2 AC. That is probably putting you up to well, you can easily get like 21 AC right from 3rd level, so really, really strong here. Unnerving Aura also removes either the actions or the bonus actions of anyone who starts next to you. Again, that sounds fantastic. Then Hungering Might, you also get your Wisdom modifier to Constitution saving throws. Brilliant. That you're really unlikely to drop concentration, you're more likely to resist a lot of the very strong Constitution targeting saving throw effects. And you get a huge amount of regen, 1d10 plus your Wisdom modifier every single time you hit. Oh, sorry, once per turn. I misread that. That is insane. Then at level 11, anyone who's in that Unnerving Aura where they lose their actions and bonus actions now takes extra damage. And Strangling Roots gives you sap or slow in addition to whatever you're currently using on your weapon. It's a lot like the World Tree's Battering Roots, which is just a brilliant feature. This is a damage boost at level 11. It's what everyone's been saying the Ranger needs. Then at level 15... Okay, this one's kind of a miss, actually. You could spend a 4+ spell slot to not drop to 0. Yeah. And then Timeless, you have immunity to exhaustion. Well, you could already recover from it very quickly anyway. You're a ranger. This thing as a whole just reads exceptionally well. You've got huge defenses, huge saving throws. You've got a damage boost at level 11. You've got some control options. You've got a really good spell list. Yeah, this reads just so good. And I think that it is a massive red herring. I think that this is possibly the weakest ranger subclass. Let me explain why. So, Wrath of the Wild and the healing on Hungering Might and all of Rotten Violence are completely locked behind concentrating on Hunter's Mark. If you are not concentrating on Hunter's Mark, you get Constitution saving throws and this pretty poor 15th level feature and the spell list. I mean, it is a good spell list, but those on their own are not a good ranger subclass. In fact, I'd say that they're pretty poor. You need to be concentrating on Hunter's Mark. You really need to be doing it. And that locks out all of your other concentration spells, including Spike Growth, which is right here. The Ranger does have some other decent non-concentration options. I'm thinking of things like Conjure Barrage, but there's nothing about this that makes you any better at using them. The other thing about this is that this Hollow Warden Ranger kind of encourages you to build a strength-based ranger, or a stranger, or maybe a sword and board ranger, which wants you to be on the front line, but then this Phantom Steed, well, that encourages you to sort of go in and out on your horse. So there's an incongruency there. You really cannot remove concentration from this. If you did remove Hunter's Mark requirement, then just +3 or more AC and this eerie aura, they would be completely busted. There's like, it goes right the way from probably being the worst subclass to probably being, well, not even probably, just being the best ranger subclass, which I also don't want to see. I'll also just sort of bring back up this unnerving aura. So this thing removes either an action or a bonus action. Most monsters don't have bonus actions, and even if they do have bonus actions, they're typically not super impactful. Normally it's just like, oh, it can dash as a bonus action, or oh, it's got Misty Step. This isn't very good at all. The thing that this subclass really needs and doesn't have is some way to stop enemies from just walking past it. Currently, you're just sort of standing there as a brick wall. There is nothing stopping the enemy from just sort of walking around you. You have great AC, that's not encouraging enemies to hit you. It needs something like the World Tree's ability to sort of teleport enemies back to them, or something that gives the target disadvantage to hit anyone else. Something like that. Also, this healing is probably just unnecessary because you are so hard to hit. You don't need the healing. This subclass just doesn't do anything. Like, it's got good defenses, but it doesn't actively contribute to a combat at all. And that's just, like, it's just bad. Like, sure, you can use all of your concentration-free ranger spells, but any other ranger could also use those. This doesn't improve it in any way. I will say that I am not fully opposed to a subclass that is built around using Hunter's Mark. I think that that is an interesting idea and is worthy of exploration, but this is just not it. Fundamentally, this is a subclass that just says, give up your concentration for a little bit of extra damage and some extra defenses, and that's called a barbarian. This here is a barbarian ranger. The only real praise that I have to give to this one is that it is a fantastic dip on either a fighter or a monk. That gives you sort of +3 AC and Hunter's Mark, which, I mean, fighters and monk aren't using their concentration on anything else anyway, so yeah, good dip. Terrible, terrible full ranger subclass. Okay, now that we have done the bad version of the subclass that makes you concentrate on a spell, let's have a look at the good version, the Hexblade. So, much like the Hollow Warden Ranger, which required you to concentrate on Hunter's Mark, this one requires you to concentrate on Hex. It's very, very similar in a lot of aspects. We'll start off with the spell list. Lots of good spells on here. Shield, Wrathful Smite, Magic Weapon is quite good on a Warlock because you get the upcasted spell slots. Conjure Barrage, really good. Dispel Magic, fantastic spell, one of my top picks. Steel Wind Strike is very nice. Staggering Smite, also very nice. This is just an outstanding spell list. One of the best. And they're all free preps now. We'll go on to Hexblade's Manifest. This gives you a load of extra casts of Hex per day, equal to your Charisma modifier. This is a very good idea because, like, the rest of this subclass is built upon Hex. So you need these extra casts, otherwise you would realistically have, like, one spell slot per combat, which isn't enough. What this does is, whenever you hit the target of your Hex, you get to use one of these Hexblade's maneuvers. Harrowing Blade isn't very good, it's just a bit of extra damage, but Draining Slash and Stymieing Mark are brilliant. Draining Slash lets you remove opportunity attacks so you can run away and then halve their speed. This makes it really, really easy to kite an enemy, and if you're, like, comboing this with, say, you've got one level in Fighter to get Topple, then brilliant, you can also knock them prone. There's a lot of really nice stuff that you can do with this. I will also point out that this does not require you to use a weapon, so if you have Eldritch Blast and Repelling Blast, then you can knock them away and also half their speed and make it just really, really hard for a melee enemy to approach you. Stymieing Mark is also brilliant. Target has disadvantage on its next saving throw. Amazing! This lets you set up another spellcaster. Really good feature. I like this one a lot. It's good early on, and it's useful later on as well, because you can probably just use Hexblade's Manifest on turn 1, throw a Hex down, throw a Stymieing Mark down, set up your, your wizard to cast Hold Monster, and then drop Hex and move on to other stuff. This is a good feature. I like it. Life Stealer. Whenever your Hex target drops to 0 HP, you heal a bit. Good. I will say that this does allow you to use a bag of rats to heal out of combat, which I'm less fond of that, but it's hard to work out how you would change this, given that it's based on Hex, unless you gave it maybe limited uses per day. I think that that's probably the best idea. Inevitable Blade lets you essentially have Graze. That's a good. That is just... yeah, Graze is good. This also works... I think this is probably better than Graze, actually, because it lets you use Inevitable Blade if you miss, and use, like, Draining Slash or whatever if you hit. So, yeah, Lifestealer, another good feature. Is still reliant on Hex, but it's a proactive feature. The problem with the Ranger was that all of this is defensive. There is nothing proactive to do here. This and this, they are proactive features. We then do get a defensive feature at level 10, which says that whenever you're hit by your Hex target, you can reduce the damage. I mean, this is a good feature. I like it. I don't think that it needs to be locked to Hex. I would like to see this one come out of Hex. I would like to see it just be a thing that you can always do. Then, finally, at 14th level, Masterful Hex, you get an expanded crit range, you get some extra splash damage, you can't drop concentration. It's a solid capstone. I don't think it's one of the best capstones, but it's solid. Overall, this feels a lot like the Hollow Warden Ranger, but it's good. Quite frankly, that's the difference here. It's a good version. Hex is... the features that Hex gives you are active, so you can have them up when you want them up, and then drop them when you no longer need them. It's not like the AC that this gives you, which you want up all the time. This is just... it's a lot more flexible. As I say, I'd like to see Armor of Hexes come out of the Hex requirement, but that's basically all I really need to change here, other than, like, Hungering Hex shouldn't be Bag of Ratsable. The other thing about this compared to the Ranger is that the Warlock chassis works a lot better with their spell list. For example, let's say that you just wanted to use Conjure Barrage. You could use Conjure Barrage at 5th level twice per short rest. If you have one short rest per day, that is 4 uses. The Ranger doesn't get Conjure Barrage until 9th level when they can use it twice. This is a huge upgrade. By that level, you're getting Steelwind Strike instead, and you can use that twice per day. It's so much better on the Warlock chassis than on the Ranger chassis. So one of the things that a lot of people are going to say about this Hexblade Patron, as opposed to the one in Xanathar's, is that it's got nothing to do with weapons. I'm not sure that's a massive deal, but fine if you want to argue that. It also doesn't give you medium armor or shields anymore, and personally I think that that is a good thing. The medium armor and shields were so defensively relevant that it made Xanathar's Hexblade just strictly better than any of the other patrons in probably the majority of Warlock builds, which I don't like. I like that this one is not a must-pick. Maybe give it another ribbon feature at level 3? Like, I don't especially know what, maybe like some kind of way of finding your Hex target or something, I don't know. Okay, after Hexblade we have another Warlock patron, this time it's the Undead. This one has always had a lot of love for it, but I don't know, I've never really got the hype. I'm not sure what it is about this one, but it does not excite me at all. I typically just much prefer the Fiend to this one. So what this does, Form of Dread, you get some temp HP, and every time you hit someone, or well, once per turn when you hit someone, you get to make them frightened. They've changed this one, so it's now based on your Charisma modifier times per day rather than Proficiency bonus, much like the the Rogue, this is essentially +1 use per day for most of your career. Good. You then get Spell List, Blindness Deafness, great spell. Speak with Dead, great spell. Anti-Life Shell, great spell. Yeah, this one is pretty good. We then get Grave Touch, and this one has had a nerf for some reason, and I don't get it. What this used to do is it would let you do an extra damage die once per turn. So if you're using Eldritch Blast, you get to add 1d10 once per turn. That's alright. What it does now is it just lets you change it to necrotic damage and ignore resistance, but, I mean, it was already force damage. There's nothing that's resistant to force damage or immune to it. So this is it's just a really bad ribbon feature now. You don't get anything really at 6th level. I don't know why they've nerfed this one. At level 10 we get Necrotic Husk, which gives you resistance to necrotic damage. Good, but the Fiend got to choose their resistance, so, like, I don't know. It's just not as good as Fiend. This Unholy Resuscitation feature, when you would drop to 0, you now drop to 10 times your Charisma modifier, so probably at this level either 40 or 50 HP, and also do a bit of damage to everyone around you. I mean, fine. It's an alright feature. Then at level 14 we get an actually quite good feature. You get a Fly Speed, lovely. Profane Casting gives you essentially Subtle Spell on Conjuration and Necromancy spells. There's a few good ones in here, especially the Summon spells. But a lot of your sort of really high-end spells, like, I don't know, Fear, Hypnotic Pattern, those aren't Necromancy or Conjuration. Same for things like Synaptic Static. As such, I think that this is less useful than it looks, but it is still good. I still think that this is a good feature. And then you also get a bit of healing once per turn. Fine. Overall, I don't know about this one. As I say, Fiend just feels better most of the time if you want the defensive features, and if you want sort of the more utility features like the Frighten, then I feel like the Archfey is better. So, yeah, I don't know about this one. It does not excite me at all. Except for Superior Dread. This one is, like, I actually do think that Superior Dread's a really good feature. Okay, let's talk about the Reanimator Artificer. I think I've padded this out for long enough now. In the intro to this video, I will have mentioned that there are certain types of horror that I really do not like, and one of those is your classic brainless zombie. I hate zombies. I really, 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 really do not like them at all. Anything with them in, The Last of Us, The Walking Dead, Left 4 Dead, anything with zombies in it, I immediately gets a black mark against it. There's a second thing about this that I don't like though, which is specifically Frankenstein's monster. I have been burned by so goddamn many iterations of Frankenstein's monster that completely missed the point. The original book is great, and all of these things that treat it like just some brainless, strong guy, please, just stop. Just stop. So, this is already off to a bad start. I hate the thematics of this one. I'm going to try and be as objective as I can, but it's really hard for me to do just because I viscerally dislike this subclass. So, I'm going to go into the spell list. Normally I would say that this is a terrible spell list, but given the thematics of this particular subclass, Animate Dead no longer has its sort of downside of being actual necromancy, so it's better than it normally looks. Witch Bolt is an alright spell now. Blindness Deafness is a pretty good spell. Lightning Bolt's alright. Animate Dead is actually quite good now that it's no longer got its downside. Anti-Life Shell is a good spell. There's good spells on this list. But put a pin in that because we're coming back to them. Level 3, Jolt to Life. So, you get Spare the Dying from this thing, and you can use it to get somebody up and do a little bit of extra damage. Sure, why not? It's fine. The main feature here is your Reanimated Companion. So, this thing is your little pet zombie. Initially, this is almost strictly weaker than the Steel Defender. The Steel Defender does more damage, has better defenses. I like its secondary abilities more. The things that this gets are it can remove opportunity attacks, so it can run away, and it heals from lightning. And it also gets this Death Burst effect, and along with that, its really bad defenses, that suggests that it is it's intended to be disposable. It also has Blindside, actually. That's a good feature. The disposable nature of this, though, is what really gets me, because this is no cheaper than any other companion. If it's intended to be used up every single combat and left to die so it can Death Burst, then it should be cheaper. You don't have enough spell slots as an Artificer in order to use this every single turn. It's well, not necessarily every single turn, but every few turns. It just feels really discongruous. I don't know. The other thing here is that you need to spend your bonus action to command it, but if you're using Witch Bolt, you also need to use your bonus action to use that, and if you're using Animate Dead, you need to use a bonus action to command them, and so there's a load of bonus action clog, so that makes the spell list worse. This just feels really... It's just got loads of anti-synergies. Like, Lightning Absorption. My first thought when I saw that was, oh, you cast Witch Bolt on it to heal it in combat. But if you cast a Witch Bolt on it, then it can't attack, so it's not doing anything. When you level up, it does get better, though. You get this strange modifications at level 5, which gives you two sort of new forms of the Reanimator Companion. Either you get Arcane Conduit or Ferocity. Ferocity's the simpler one. It basically gets multi-attack to do Dreadful Swipe twice. That does make it now do more damage than the Steel Defender, but I still don't think it's better than the Steel Defender. Arcane Conduit lets you cast from the companion's location. That has proven good before on things like the Scribe's Wizard, but you need to use your own senses, which means that it's not true disassociated casting. So realistically, I think that the only real uses for this are for casting touch range spells without having to go onto the front line, and for getting a second angle on your lightning bolt. I don't think that this is as good as it reads on an Artificer. Evocation and Necromancy spells also get a little bit of a damage boost, but realistically that is on Lightning Bolt, Blight, and a few cantrips, and that's it. It's not a lot. Level 9 though, you get new forms, which can also stack with the strange modifications. You get Bloated, Gaunt, or Moist. Moist is the probably bad one, which gives you a swim speed, and also a bit of sort of retaliation damage. I don't think it's that good. Bloated effectively gives you Push. Push is pretty good as a weapon mastery. I think that it's best used here for setting up lightning bolts. basically lighting people up so you can lightning bolt them more effectively. The good one, though, I think, is Gaunt. This gives you like 15 extra speed and a climb speed, so you can run along walls. You can also run along ceilings as well. So it's effectively spider climb, I think. And you also get this 10-foot emanation that gives you Frightened on anyone who starts their turn in it, I believe. Yes, starts their turn in it. The thing is that this also feels incongruous. If you're using Gaunt alongside Dreadful Swipe and your good speed and your climb speed, this feels like you're wanting to play sort of a skirmisher where you run in, you hit them, and then you run out again. But the enemy needs to start within your aura in order to become frightened, so that encourages you to be on the front line. So you're being encouraged to do two completely different things here, and if you do one, then you don't get the benefits of the other. I don't know, this entire companion just feels so... It's got so many anti-synergies in it. I don't like it at all. Level 15, Promethean Reanimation. Cheap Revivify. Oh boy, yay. Death Burst improves. Oh boy, yay! Life Transfer. You can heal yourself by sacrificing your companion. Oh boy, yay! This, similarly to the Ranger and the Hexblade, you have one feature here. You have one feature here. It's called Reanimated Companion. If you do not have your Reanimated Companion up, you have Jolt to Life, you have the decent spell list, and you have cheaper Revivifies, and that's it. The Battlesmith gives you so much more than this. So much more. No, I don't like this one. It's... If the companion was cheaper, if you could cast it again for... Maybe if you could make it like intelligence times per day for free, then I think that this would be a lot better, because it would be... You could use the Death Burst more often. As it is, though, it's too expensive. It's no cheaper than any other pet. It's more expensive than the Chain, which I think is a better pet at low levels, especially. And it's just got so many anti-synergies. No, I don't like this one. I don't know how much of this is biased against zombies, but I do not like this one. Actually, point about zombies, I don't mind them if they're being used for comedic purposes. And on that note, Saki, Tide, Yugiri, Junko, Sakura, Lily, and then I. Okay, our penultimate subclass, the College of Spirits Bard. Right, so, much like the Reanimator Artificer, this one has something very me-specific, flavour-wise, that's... I don't know. So, one of my... Actually, no, probably my favourite character, definitely the most important NPC of any of my settings, is a guy called Adalar Blust, who is a collector of stories who can speak to ghosts. I adore Adalar, and when I first saw the College of Spirits from, it was in Ravenloft, yeah, I thought, oh my god, it's literally Adalar. This is not Adalar at all. It unfortunately is like, it has nothing to do with anything that Adalar does. So this is just a very specific flavour related thing that I find off-putting, just because it's disappointing that it's not my favourite character. So, let's go through all the features. Channeler. You get Guidance with 60 feet. Guidance, brilliant cantrip. Really good. And then you get a ribbon where you can use a gaming set as your spellcasting focus. I'm fine. Then you get the main feature here, Spirits from Beyond. This is your Bardic Inspiration usage, and it's a random table. I am a very consistency-minded person, so I don't particularly like random things, and as such I'm put off by this right from the start, but I also think that quite a lot of this is just sort of worse than either, like, Valor, or the Mantle of Majesty on Glamour. And yeah, a lot of them can be replicated by other bards into similar effectiveness. Except for a few of the ones like Coward, which is very unique and very strong, I think. What I will say about this is that it is nice that it upgrades as you improve your Bardic Inspiration die. It gains new effects and the weaker ones become stronger. So that is nice. I just wish that this was either consistent, which they don't want to make this one consistent, or stronger to make up for the inconsistency. Moving on, Empowered Channeling. Powers from Beyond. This is a small boost, but it does apply to cantrips, so sure, why not? And then you get Spirit Guardians, and it also gives you half cover. That is brilliant. Spirit Guardians is obviously a fantastic spell, and the half cover lets you sort of make up for the fact that your bard probably doesn't have very good AC. So yeah, I really like Empowered Channeling. I think it is probably the best feature on this bard. Mystical Connection makes Spirits from Beyond slightly more consistent because it gives you 2 rolls. Yeah, to me, this subclass says you get Guidance and you get Spirit Guardians, and that's kind of it. I'd much prefer to just go Lore, and Guidance is such a good spell, and it's so easy to get that it's very likely that somebody else will already have it in the party, so yeah, Spirit just doesn't do it for me, unfortunately. Finally, saving the best for last, Grave Domain Cleric. This one is brilliant. I love this one. The old Grave Domain Cleric, well, the real draw for it was Path to the Grave, which was a extremely degenerate feature, which just gave the target vulnerability to all of the next attack's damage. What that effectively meant is that it's led to a load of really uninteresting fights that just sort of ended with a single turn of really, really massive Nova, which it just wasn't fun. So they have changed that, and I'm very glad about it. Okay, we'll start off with Circle of Mortality. Pull from Death. You do a little bit of extra damage to a bloody creature. Sure, why not? That's fine. The big one here, though, is Return to Life. This one is so strong. Whenever you heal someone at 0 HP, you just do the max value of the dice, you don't roll them. That combos so well with the improved healing spells. Like, at 3rd level, Cure Wounds is probably healing between 50 and 75% of a player's max HP. It's so strong. If you upcast it to 6th level, Cure Wounds actually heals more than a heal spell. This is really, really strong healing. It's brilliant. I will say, though, that it is specifically yo-yo healing. And yo-yo healing has its sort of... It's not great to have in the game, I don't think. So I would probably want to change this so that rather than it being at 0 HP, it was when you target someone who's bloodied, but not at 0 HP. I think that would just be better to have. Moving on though, also at 3rd level you get a spell list, and this one's not a good spell list. Bane, I think, is a really good spell. Many people disagree with me, but I think that Bane is a fantastic spell. Revivify, you save a spell prep, so I'm saving 2 spell preps actually, because I'm also saving Bane. And then, Hold Monster's good. especially with some of the high level features, but no, this is not a good spell list. Not at all. Okay, Path to the Grave. This is the one that they changed entirely because the old version was just extremely degenerate. Now, as a bonus action, no save, target somebody within 30 feet, curse them. While cursed, they have disadvantage on attack rolls and saving throws. Oh my god, that is so good. That is so good. What you can do is you can just drop this on a target and then throw hold person on them, something like that. It's essentially a mini version of heightened meta magic. Brilliant. And then, after you've done that, once you've got the saving throw benefits out of it or the attack roll benefits out of it, you can end it early to have your paladin or whoever just nova a bit of extra damage. And if you've used hold person on them or something, because it adds the damage to the attack, this doubles on a crit. This is such a cool feature. It's really good, but it is way less degenerate than the old version. I love this. It's so good. Probably the best channel divinity of any of the current cleric subclasses. Okay, moving on. Level 6, Sentinel at Death's Door. Wisdom times per day, you can halve the damage done to somebody. This does not give resistance, so it stacks with resistance. Brilliant. I will also point out that it requires anyone else to be bloodied, but if you target yourself, you do not need to be bloodied. So it's a really good self-defense feature, especially. This is just... it's just lovely. This and Path to the Grave and Circle of Mortality, amazing features, all three of them. Probably so far my favourite cleric subclass, I think beating a light out. Level 17, Divine Reaper. This one I think is probably less good. Enhanced Necromancy lets you twin a bunch of spells, but the best options here are like Hold Monster and Blight. So, I mean, Hold Monster's good to twin. Blight being a standout is just kind of... ugh. Keeper of Souls, though, whenever an enemy dies, you can heal someone equal to 3 times your cleric level. That is a lot of healing. That is a lot of healing. Yeah. I think that the Grave Domain is just brilliant. It does so much healing. It's got really good team support. This is my favourite cleric subclass. It's my favourite subclass from this UA. I love the Grave Domain Cleric. Really good. And there we go. 8 subclasses of somewhat varying quality. I do need to remind WotC, since they seem to be hiding it from us, if you don't give us the Kensei soon, there will be riots. It's been a long time since I did a video in this style, so tell me what you thought. It takes about 1/5 of the effort that a normal video does, so I'm happy to do more whenever we get new UAs. Subscribe and all of that jazz, and why not check out this video about the Cartographer Artificer from the last UA, and how completely game-breaking it is, and I do not mean that in a good way. Bye!